Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to talk about the World of Warcraft Community Council. Basically, the TLDR is that they want to put together a revamp of the private forums that we had back in the day, but this time make them like public forums and stuff, right? This time make them public forums that everybody will be able to read, but only a specific amount of people, they said about 100 people, will be able to post upon. So they'll ask members to share their experiences and perspectives on anything in the game. So basically you could post topics about whatever you want, and some topics may be started by Blizzard developers and community managers, so asking people for feedback. Our responses and updates from Blizzard will be posted there so they can easily be discussed by the entire community. So everybody can look in at this forum and see, what Automated Jimmy is talking about in his post and discuss what they think about what that person is saying in response to it, Private discussion will also be set up for council members to interact between each other. So you say, hey, I want to talk to this guy privately, and I don't have Discord or something, and let's just do it. So basically, separate conversations between smaller groups of members and Blizz developers will be encouraged to ensure players with differing perspectives are being heard. This may take the form of live chats. So there is the potential for a ton of public conversation as to what is going to happen with the video game, but on the other hand, they could also be having some more private sort of live chats, which I'd imagine would not be streamed, but maybe they could be. But honestly, I really, really doubt it. But the key goal, discussion with players from a wide variety of different playstyles. Application process will require you to share about all these things. And they ask you such things as, how long have you played the game? Or it's like, how do you play the game? They ask you for your name, your battle tag, all these other things. And they sort of ask you to go through the entire spiel of your experience with WoW. There's also a section at the end where they ask you to kind of list your contributions to the WoW community, which got people really up in arms that it's just going to be a streamer thing because they have more like tangible, I guess, contributions. But I do think that adding something like your own forum posts or something like that would also work out in its stead. So there's a possibility that something like that could be added to the table or taken under consideration. But basically, there's, as always, a lot of flack in the community and craziness in the community over what's going to happen with this sort of forum, because the cynics say, hey, we've had this before, and it was in a private scenario where people could talk, without fear of anybody looking over their shoulder, and a lot of the people in that private forum, I was not a part of it, but I'm taking what I've heard from others like Magdalena, said, hey, we weren't listened to. And they said that we were wrong about stuff, but we were right about stuff. And as a result, people got jaded and people didn't want to interact with it. And eventually people started leaking information that was not public to the community. And then that ended up with Blizzard just torching the whole thing and removing it from existence, basically. So there wasn't going to be any more of like a direct line of feedback. Now they're trying to restart that and have things a lot more public and in the light, which could be good from the perspective that, hey, if somebody says something on the forums, they can be challenged by the entire community and says, whoa, that's not something that we want. That's a bad idea. We don't want to roll with that. Which can be really good, because I don't know who told them to AoE cap DPS, but even as a healer, I know that's probably not a great idea, and then it went ahead anyway, right? So, does something like that come from feedback? Maybe this would be a good way to be able to staunch that problem. That being said, super big concerns about execution, right? How are the people going to get selected, right? You never want to have a bunch of fanboys from Blizzard and everything like that, or those are on their payroll, not like I would know, that are only going to be able to say positive things, who aren't able to give any sort of feedback, right? On the other hand, you also want to make sure that you do have a good number of unknown people who are not in the spotlight, who are properly going to be able to give feedback that relates directly to the game. Because, let's be real, we all have our biases. There's no such thing as an unbiased viewpoint or anything like that. What's going to happen inevitably is people are going to act in their own self-interest according to the incentives that are in front of them. Obviously, myself as a WoW streamer, I want WoW to do well and do better, because then more people will watch my content, right? But it can also give you blind spots. Like, I am very sure that I have blind spots to casual players' plights and things that bother them and things that they want to have for the game. So, yes, naturally, having casual players and hardcore players and transmog enthusiasts and achievement hunters and everything is going to help. because my talents or my focus is a lot better suited towards a specific part of the game, in specific areas. That being said, there are some things that have helped everybody, most notably Covenant swaps. I think is a good example where everybody can sort of come together and say, yeah, it'd be great if we could just kind of play whatever we want and be able to choose something optimal for whatever Covenant we're doing, right? That's one area where there's a lot of common ground, and there's a lot more common ground than I think people ordinarily see. But execution is going to make or break this. You're going to have about 100 people that are going to be selected for this council, and, well, Blizzard needs to be active, or those 100 people are not going to be active, and if they're not active, the entire forum's just going to die out. Another really large concern I have is how are these people going to present themselves on the forums? Usually, when you see the forums, you say, all right, it's Rosandra of Alpera United, and you can see the server they're on, you can see the character that they are, that you can see what they do. This person's an achievement hunter, this person's a PvPer, this is whatever. I don't actually think that's the best way to do it. I really don't. I think that if you have people under their public character names, then you are going to have a lot of harassment, but also a lot of people trying to change or pivot or alter their point of view, which is the whole reason why you selected them, why Blizzard selected them. This is not a vote. There's no popularity contest where we all vote for me because we all love me. This is going to be something that they choose of, like, who is actually going to bring things to the table. So, honestly, I think it'd be good if, of the 100 people, I don't know, maybe a dozen of them are streamers. Something like that. And they really start drilling down on some of the unheard voices in, like, hardcore rating, some of the unheard voices in the casual community, transmog, RP, pet battles, etc. Because, let's face it, all us hardcore players, we love this game and have a bunch of fun playing it. But we're also not the only demographic, and we're also not the largest demographic out there. There's a number of times where casual players will agree, like I said, with covenants, or needless friction, like conduit energy, which is just kind of annoying and dumb. But let's also be realistic that there are a lot of things that keep the lights on at Blizzard, and many of them are casual players, and we need them for the game to be able to continue to grow and develop 17 years later, right? So I hope that they get that good mix. But I also hope that they assign everybody a code name, okay? And it can be whatever they choose. Like, if I was chosen as AutomaticJak, I could say, I want to be, Automated George. And everyone's like, okay, clearly, this is who it is, Or they could publicly say, hey, I'm Automated George. I made this post. Hey, come check out my post on these private forums that everybody can read. So I guess they're public, but private to post, right? I would own up to it. Because I don't mind if people see my bad takes or something like that. And I don't think I'm going to pass on feedback unless I think that it's actually good, right? But I think that there is bound to be some situations where people are selected that they will be thrust into the spotlight and they may not necessarily want to be. And I think that that could also harm the feedback and the value that they would bring. Whether it's people bribing them to give feedback that they would not otherwise give or would not otherwise take seriously. Like, what happens when the person selected because they're an achievement hunter and pet battler, an archaeologist and whatever, starts posting, like, class discords, collation of feedback, right? It's a little weird, isn't it? That's not why they're brought to the table. That's not where their strength sort of lies. So I think that there's the section where they could be, like, bribed or otherwise influenced, or, some buddy of theirs is like, hey, you should really post this for me. But then there's the other side where they could really just be harassed and they could just be witch hunted like crazy for things that they're posting, This is going to be a good test, I think, if Blizzard doesn't sort of mask these people, I think it could really make it so that they'd have to really work on their enforcement techniques specifically for those accounts and for the people that could possibly get targeted there. So, we'll see. On the other hand, there is that argument of, like, people need to be accountable. I'm like, honestly, no, they don't, okay? Blizzard's under no obligation to take what people say in this sort of forum as gospel. They could listen to it and be like, wow, that's some garbage feedback, and just do something completely different. They've had times where they've had good feedback from the community where it was all condensed into one topic called covenants, and they did listen to it anyway, right? So just because somebody posts something on this forum does not mean that Blizzard's instantly going to say, all right, well, we're going to do what Jimmy says. Let's go, guys. They're under no obligation. And I don't think any of the people that get selected are under any obligation to answer. What can happen, and what I think will be good, was if somebody has a terrible take and they choose to be masked And then the community can come together and say, we really don't like that idea. You know, if it's something that Blizzard might be like, huh, maybe we should target cap DPS. And everyone's like, no, you know, and then they're going to be able to understand. So I think adding a code name that these people who are selected can choose to publish or not publish would be beneficial, because those who don't want to be published will then be able to say, hey, I'm going to keep posting my ideas without fear of retribution. And if they suck, then people can attack the idea rather than the person as a result, right? And yeah, maybe people will be a little bit shy if they go on Twitter and see their idea being shit on. But let me tell you, that's a lot different than seeing direct messages to that person affecting their game, their Discord, their friend circle, whatever, that would otherwise reduce, you know, the value that they could bring to this council, right? So, I mean, a lot of it, we'll see. I think that there have been a number of times where streamers and just the community in general have collated and put together information that would otherwise benefit the game, and it didn't really get followed. So I hope that this is something that can grow into a spot of value for WoW and for the community as a whole and everything like that. But it's really going to be on the execution, and they have to show us that they're going to be serious about it. This is pretty much a different video entirely, but Ian had a big old interview with VentureBeat, which we'll, like I said, probably do in another video. But a little tidbit I want to share is when he talks about watching the player base of WoW evolve. We'll zoom in a little bit more here. The broad range of the player base evolve, watching how they're playing the game, what we hear from folks who are content creators or high-end raiders or PvPers who we know have a specific playstyle. But one of the challenges in designing WoW is there's a dozen different playstyles. Many of them are not as vocally or prominently represented. So what we hear from people who are trying to do high-end raiding and keystones, having to choose one covenant, not being able to use the two freely, was frustrating. We understood that, and it wasn't surprising to us, right? Here's the other part. But over time, what they continue to hear was that even those who initially appreciated that choice, again, those casual players who they designed this core RPG choice for, that diversity of experience months into the game down the line, once they played through the stories and once they'd seen it, particularly on the alts, they just wanted to ease the change. And that led us to that place there, right? So basically, yes, there's many points of the game that are a pinpoint focus for hardcore players that later on start affecting casual players. And hopefully, this Warcraft Community Council can actually make it so that these two groups can come together, make the game awesome. We can all be super hyped about it, and, you know, all live happily ever after. Because we all know where WoW's been at. We all know that something needs to change. Maybe this will be it. I hope it's going to be it. And we'll see if it's going to be it. So we'll see. Make sure you check out the link. I'll put it in the description below. There's an application form here if you guys want to fill it out. It's got thousands of applicants and everything like that. Go in, shoot your shot. You know, I hope that Blizzard takes the feedback that they should help mask the players if they choose to be. I, as a streamer, and I'm sure many other streamers and content creators, will probably opt to go unmasked and just voice our opinions out there and roll with it, right? But I think that for a lot of people who are not having the platforms that we have, I think that they should have the option to choose anonymity if they want to and have their ideas be attacked, but not their personalities or not them as a person. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any other thoughts on the council and everything like that, be sure to leave them down in the comments down below. Join Discord, check out the live stream, all that other good stuff. 915 is finally here, and we'll be able to get into some good, juicy content, all right? Have a great night, guys. Take it easy. See y'all tomorrow.